Why, hello there everyone, Foxy here, once again with another fun-filled, exciting episode of Where's the Deals, the series where I go check out the Facebook Marketplace and take a look at video game listings. Some will be good, others will be downright awful deals. It's always more fun looking at the bad ones because it's like, alright, who the hell is buying this and really why? But anyway, let's fire this episode up and get things underway here. First up is, oh god, another one of these mystery box type things. Pay $5 and an extra $4 for shipping and he'll send you a game. So basically $9 for probably something that's going to be worth either $3 or $4, especially since a good chunk of them are loose discs. I especially love the fact that he showed a copy of Modern Warfare 3 that has a bunch of scratches on the top layer of the disc. I love that. Can I get it? It'd be a mystery if it worked. But then again, is that part of the gimmick as well? $200 for everything we see here. I think there's 23 games on this stack, which makes this about, what, $8.90 per game. He has a few in here that are kinda harder to come by, like Chrome Hounds, Fighters, and that Ice Age 3 game, but I think the only one in this entire stack that does have some sort of value is that Ice Age 3. I want to say it's a $14 game, but regardless, it's a hell of a long way to make up the value of the $200 that this guy is asking for. Worse yet is how many sports games he has in here. It's not worth $200. I probably wouldn't even touch it for $100. In fact, take that $100, run to a local game shop, and I guarantee you'll walk away with a better handful of games regardless if the games are cheap as shit or whatever. It doesn't matter. At least you'll be able to pick out the games you want. When I first flipped by this listing, I was like, oh shit, $225 for all of this? That's not even bad at all. Then my dyslexia slapped me in the face and I noticed, oh, it's $225 per console bundle. Okay, that kind of changes everything here. I couldn't even tell you the last time I saw a 2600 Atari bundle sell for around $200. I did kind of do a little bit of digging, and by digging I mean I just looked at sold listings on eBay. I had thought that the 5200 and 7800 might not be horrible deals at this price, when in reality, it isn't a good deal, period. Very few 5200 listings are selling for $200+, and the ones that are have either a bunch of games, controllers, and extras, maybe even the original box, or the ones that are selling have been modded to utilize an AV component cord and a different power adapter. The 7800 is even worse if you can believe it. Unless you have a ton of games and extras included, or again have the original box, these things are only going for around $60 to $180 depending on obviously various things. I have no idea where the $225 pricing is coming from, but just know, Atari anyway fits a very niche market. Like, most collectors that I know want nothing to do with the systems, instead opting for things like Nintendo, Sega, and others that were around that era. I wouldn't mind having the systems, but as far as collecting the games, that's kind of a big no for me, unless I can get all that stuff for dirt cheap, but it's hard to come by. Great sweet baby Jesus does this scream reproduction. Details it as being new. It's wrapped in some sort of bag, but it's not like heat shrink wrapped or something. I don't even know. I don't have a problem with reproductions. Don't get me wrong. They don't bother me at all when the seller makes it 100% clear that, hey, this isn't a real legit game. It's not authentic. Despite the seller claiming it to be new, they should really say reproduction somewhere on the description or thing, whatever. Out of curiosity, I did use Google Lens to search the picture, and the first thing that popped up was, oddly enough, a Walmart listing, also calling the game as a game card. A term I have never heard before with N64. I don't know what that's about. Alright, here we have a similar listing. Conker's Bad Fur Day. Also in that weird plastic wrap thing? I mean, come on. This is $100+ game. And in some cases, I've even seen mint condition ones that were even loose sell for over $220. This Facebook listing is a little bit more on the dickhead side of things because the seller makes absolutely no attempts to say whether it is real or fake outside of saying that it's new in the condition section. This shit probably shouldn't bother me as much as it does, but come on, be a little bit more transparent. Well, okay, right off the bat, there's some highly sought after titles here. Luigi's Mansion, Dark Moon, Super Smash, and Mario Party. Sonic ain't half bad either, but I've only played it on the PlayStation. Not sure how it works out on the DS. Can't imagine it being bad, though. Anyway, Smash and Mario Party Complete are both around $15 to $20. Luigi's Mansion, as well as Sonic Racing, are also around that $15 mark. Lego Avengers title is the only one that's not really worth it. It's a $9 game, but the thing is, if you were to buy all of this stuff together for that $40, you're easily getting over $70+ in value. And that's on the low end of the spectrum. It's a great bundle for anyone, really. This is one that anyone should be snatching up. PS3 games, $5 each. This is one of those occasions where the seller actually has a stack worth of games that I would grab. Lots of racing titles like Burnout Paradise, the Need for Speed games, Dirt 2, Split Second, and a game that I very, very rarely ever come across, Blur. I would grab those. But then you have others like Bloodstone 007, Prince of Persia, Army of Two 40th Day, and a few others that I would definitely throw into the mix as well. A lot of the games I just mentioned are easily worth double or triple plus what the guy's asking. For me, this turns into one of those listings where I have to ask the seller, hey, if I were to grab like 10 games or even everything, could you cut me a little bit of a deal? Something to that effect. Again, as long as you are respectful and not a dick about it, more often than not, the seller's going to be willing to work with you. A little bit of a side note here. Some people in the past have asked me this question. How come you do not show listings where people price their games separately? The big reason, honestly, is because 99% of the time, there's nothing worth talking about. Generally, if a seller is pricing games individually, it's because they're borderline pricing them retail or on the high end of the eBay side of things, which always makes me wonder, well, you know, why not just sell on eBay? But I imagine the reply to that is because they don't want to deal with fees or shipping in some cases. Now we have a PS3 game listing where everything is a solid price of $7 a game with shipping available for $4 unless you buy more than one. See, the problem with this listing is that there's a ton of games here that I wouldn't even touch for $5 because they're easily found elsewhere for that same price, if not cheaper. You know, games like Call of Duty, sports titles, Battlefield, a lot of the more common stuff. I don't know why anyone would pay $7 plus the cost of shipping on top of that when you could just go to a local game store and find it for basically half the price. I mean, yeah, there's a couple games in here that might be worth buying, but only if you were to purchase them local and forgo that shipping. Mafia 2, for example, and that Fight Night Round 3 would be worth $7, but outside of that, not so much. Well, this is interesting. 3DS games are $3 each, and DS games are $1 a piece. Doesn't mention the Game Boy Advance ones, but I'll just assume those are $1 as well? Who knows? Either way, I do know damn well that Animal Crossing is a $20 game, that Dynasty Warriors DS one is about $15, and even that Nintendogs and Cats game, Loose, is worth around $10. You'd be almost crazy at this point not to just grab everything. You wouldn't even be paying 20 bucks according to the seller's loose pricing structure here. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised at all if there's about, 70 to $100+ worth of games here. Sure, there's a couple nothing burger games thrown into the mix, but who gives a shit? The price is too good to pass up. I've done shoutouts for my buddy Yama in the past, and today is no different. The only exception is that he's released Season 2 of his clothing collection, and boy, does he have some sweet designs, like my personal favorite that he calls Project Overlord. He's got a bunch of other great designs that he created himself, and I know a lot of you gamers out there enjoy anime as well, including me, and his clothing is heavily inspired by anime, gaming, and various other forms of nerdy stuff that people like us are into. Let's face it. Check it out. I highly encourage it. In fact, I have a discount code for 10% off your entire order, which is pretty sweet if you ask me. Link for that is in the description below. Save yourself a bit of money. Why not? Alright, well, I'm going to assume that the games involved in this one are all 10 bucks a pop, which at first glance, I thought this wasn't bad at all. Until I started looking more into the games and realized, oh god, I was way off the mark. I figured Rage 2, Riders Republic, NASCAR Heat 4, Cyberpunk, a handful of these games were worth way more than 10 bucks. But in reality, very few actually were. They were around that $10 mark used, but only games that really had any sort of value that were significant in this listing were Nier Replicant, The Last of Us 2, Resident Evil 2, King of Fighters, and a few others. As it stands, I'd probably grab that King of Fighters since it's almost a $30 game. The rest of the games that do have some sort of value, I don't really know about because I feel like I could find them cheaper elsewhere. Either way, this one caught me off guard. I was a little surprised by it. Especially since I think some of those games aren't even that old. Here's a similar listing, but the games are 5 bucks instead of 10. Definitely a much more attractive price point. The games, this is another one of those instances where I would ask for a deal off multiple or just to flat out buy everything. There's a few in here that I would snag without even thinking about it, like Mortal Kombat 11, Crash Team Racing, Yakuza, and J-Star's Victory vs. Plus. Those games in particular are worth, at the very least, 3 times the asking price, or at the best, over 5. Like J-Stars is a $30+ game in itself, with Crash being around 20. At that point, why not just grab everything the seller has and see if they'd be willing to haggle, you know? 5 for $25. So in other words, I guess just 5 bucks each, but then maybe he wants more for 1 or 2 games? Who knows? Anyway, for that sort of price point, there's not a whole lot to work with here. The big one is that Radia Stories, or I don't really even know how you pronounce that. Whatever. Rad Stories is easily a $35+ game, and one that I really want to own for myself. The only other games that have value are Sly 2, which nowadays tends to be around $20-something, unless you have the black label copy with the poster. It's much harder to come across, but it's worth 40 bucks if not more. If I had to grab 3 more games out of this lineup, probably would get that Destroy All Humans 2, Black, and maybe Harry Potter's Prisoner of Azkaban. A lot of the other games aren't really worth a whole lot. Like Final Fantasy X-2 is really common, and same with Kingdom Hearts. You think those games might be worth something because of their name and them being included in a massive franchise, but they're really easy to find. If I go to, like, say, I don't know, 5 local game shops, at least 3 out of the 5 will have it, and usually around like that $5 to $7 mark. So I think that's going to do it for today. I want to give out some news, or really an update on this series. So this is going to be the very last edition of Where's the Deals, where I'm just going to be going off of Facebook Marketplace. In the future, there will be a mix that'll include stuff like Mercari, letgo, OfferUp, and whatever else. I've included that stuff in the past, but for whatever reason, I just never kept up with it, and I couldn't even tell you why. Either way, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you next time.